Since 1991, birds and people are living together in seemingly perfect harmony, until one day a young man catches fire. This is Phoenix.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Game Week 8 knee-jerk stream. Game Week 7 has finished, so we're going to discuss all the action, all the talking points, and start looking ahead to Game Week 8, which is, of course, 2 weeks away at this point. We're into an international break, which I know some people hate. I am absolutely looking forward to it. And do you know what? I'm even kind of happy there's another one in 4 weeks' time, because it gives me a nice little break, especially when my players, most of them, aren't performing quite as nicely or quite as well as I would like them to. Although I can't complain, it was a green arrow this week, so I got 56 points, which took me from 2.7 million to 2 million. So I've gone 1.3 to 2.7, back to 2 million. So I've kind of halved the deficit from last week. So nothing amazing, nothing awful, just in the middle. It was okay. It would have been much nicer if I'd captained Saka instead of Haaland, but I was never really going to do that. So I'm not particularly worried. Yeah, exactly. It's almost nosebleed territory for me, close to the top 2 million. The only saving grace is it's Game Week 7. So I'm going to say this for a few more weeks. There's no need to panic. When we start getting to like Game Weeks 15, 16, 17 onwards, I might start to panic a little bit more. But right now, whatever, right? Things can swing pretty easily. If Haaland had actually done something this week, along with the Salah blank and the Palmer 6 points, it would have been even better. But c'est la vie, as Bewitched once said. And also, the most frustrating thing, by the way, is the Arsenal double defence losing their clean sheet again. They get so many points in the first 5 game weeks. They get them in Game Week 6, and they lose a clean sheet to both Leicester and Southampton. Like it's absolutely frustrating. Like more so than other players in my team. But I think as much as the fixtures are about to turn now, there's no need to kind of panic on that and lose my nerve. I'm just going to keep them. Seems pretty easy. They even got a clean sheet against PSG. They got a clean sheet against PSG very easily as well. PSG weren't really troubling them for most of that game. It's similar to Konza. I know Konza got a goal, which was obviously nice if you played him, but he lost a clean sheet to I think it was Leicester, Everton and Wolves or something like that. Then they go and keep a clean sheet against Bayern Munich in the Champions League. And then today, he goes off after 10 minutes and Villa keep a clean sheet against Man United. So Konza owners, especially if you didn't get the goal, have had a pretty hard time. And now he's probably going to be out for a few weeks. It looked like a hamstring issue. Rubbish game week. Is it time to cash in on Salah? I mean, with Chelsea at home, Arsenal away next, you could definitely think about it. The only thing about the premium attackers, apart from Haaland and Son, basically Saka and Palmer don't have amazing fixtures now. So it almost feels like whichever ones you've already got, you probably just keep hold of, unless you're going to go to Son. So Salah's fine to sell, but only if you're really going to be using the money. I wouldn't react too much just because he blanked against Palace. He did go off after the 72nd minute, by the way. So even Salah is not completely immune from early substitutions. But I wouldn't panic on him too much. So that's probably going to be the theme of this stream. Don't panic. Do not panic. Chelsea have Colwill and Cucurella suspended. I don't think Colwill's suspended, is he? I know Cucurella and Fofana, I think, is suspended. They're up to 5 yellow cards now, I believe. Yeah, it's Fofana and Cucurella that are suspended, not Colwill. Colwill didn't get sent off today, did he? I think he did. So yeah, it's just Cucurella and Fofana, which is not ideal. It's just a 1-game suspension. Salah has definitely lost a yard. He can't outrun any fullback. I say this as the note. Again, I feel like every Sunday I basically have to sit here and tell people to just chill out a bit. And look, I know not everybody that says something like that has also said something else. But if I talk about the average opinion on Salah, for weeks now it's been like he's absolutely essential. I can't believe you haven't got him. And now he's lost a yard. He's not. I think we should be a bit careful about Salah. I think he's still decent enough. He's still got a bunch of points this season. He's still a really good player. He's not essential, but then no player is, I would say. In the end, I captained Bowen. Very nice if you went Bowen. West Ham's fixtures aren't that good now. I feel like if you've missed the Ipswich game, you probably just dodge Bowen for a little bit longer. Captain Saka is so obvious in hindsight. It was a good choice this week, but I was perfectly okay with going for Haaland against Fulham. I mean, Haaland's blanked twice in a row. I'm going to captain him against Wolves, and then I'm going to captain him against Southampton. And then from game week 10 onwards, I think the captaincy conversation gets a little bit more interesting again. What do you make of that leak that had some right and some wrong info? I'm not sure what leak you mean, to be honest. Mad how Chelsea have 2 suspensions for 5 yellow cards. I know. And Fofana, I don't even think... Has he played all the games? I can't remember now. Let me just have a quick look here for Chelsea. I think he started most games, hasn't he? Yeah, he started every game, to be fair. So five yellow cards in 7 games. It's mad. Oh, that's it. 5 yellow cards in a row. Sorry, not 5. Only 5 starts. Yeah. The Diaz leak was a full team leak. Had Robertson starting. Yeah, I did say that. Well, I didn't say it about that specific leak, but I did say there's not too many Liverpool leaks that I would 100% trust. But I mean, that's always the deal with leaks, right? They're not always going to be correct. Not really sure what else there is to kind of say about that. Should have listened to the Diaz bench leak. I was very happy with the Diaz bench leak. He basically went exactly as I said, or exactly as I hoped or thought. 1 blank, 1 benching, and then everyone panics about him. Everyone's going to be selling him now. And so I'm so glad I didn't go with him on wildcard. I'm just so annoyed that the alternative in Bruno Fernandez hasn't done anything. He hit the bar today from a free kick. If that had gone in, honestly, I would have celebrated more than I've celebrated a goal in a long time. And if for anyone that watched the Man United Aston Villa match, first of all, congratulations for staying with the game the whole way through. It was absolutely terrible. And not just Man United. Villa were pretty poor as well, I would say. And right at the end, Garnacho and Bruno Fernandes are running through on goal. And if it was the other way around and Bruno had the ball and Garnacho was running through the middle, Bruno would have passed first time, I think, and he would have probably made that pass and it would have been a one-on-one. Garnacho took a touch and then he couldn't get it past the defender. If he got that ball past the defender, Bruno's in like acres of space. It would have been the only chance Bruno had the whole game. But my days, when I saw that, I was so frustrated. So frustrated. I'm just never going to get points from him ever again. The good news is, in game week 8, I might sell him, but I also might not. Was that a penalty on Calvert-Lewin? I think it was. I know the argument that people are making that Calvert-Lewin kicks Dan Burn. I think it was Dan Burn. But Calvert-Lewin goes to shoot and Dan Burn gets in the way. And then he stops him from shooting, essentially. And I feel like we see them given sometimes. So I think if it had been given, there wouldn't have been any arguments. So I think I probably should have been a penalty, but whatever. It's not like a stone wall, I would say. Like Dan Burn's not trying to. Yeah, he doesn't go for the ball at all. Doesn't go for the ball at all. So I think if it had been given, there wouldn't have been any arguments. But it's probably not a stone wall penalty. Is Chris Wood a must-have? No, but I kind of wish I had him instead of Calvert-Lewin right now. Fire sale on Semenyo? No, just bench him this week probably. We knew these fixtures were coming up. Should I be selling Salah for Mbeumo, Brennan Johnson or Saka? I mean, honestly, I'd maybe just keep Salah than get any of those players. I mean, I'd much rather have Saka than Brennan Johnson. Well, actually, I'd probably just get Mbeumo long term. I mean, Saka's probably the one, though. Long-term, Saka probably is the one out of those. But I don't think there's any need to sell Salah to Saka in Game Week 8. Unless you need the money for something else. Brennan Johnson can't be ignored now. Spurs are the problem or a problem? Yeah, Brennan Johnson's good. If you've got a spare transfer and you need to buy a midfielder, no reason to ignore him. 6 in 6 now. Mitoma looked brilliant today. Absolutely. Definitely Brighton's best player. And also his minutes have been very good as well. The only problem is, after the next 2 games, which is Newcastle away, Wolves at home, they then got like Liverpool and Man City. So I think for me, I'll probably be leaving Brighton players until game week 12 onwards. And then I'll look at Mitoma. And it's also a case of where does he fit into the midfield? Like, you're not going to sell him Burmo. He's a bit more expensive than Semenyo and Rodgers. You're not going to sell Palmer or Saka. And obviously a lot of people want Brennan Johnson now as well. So it's about finding a slot for Mitoma. But I don't think we need to worry about that massively until probably game week 12 onwards. Yeah, Rico Lewis assist. Did get a yellow card. No, sorry, not a yellow card. He conceded twice, didn't he? The nice thing about Rico Lewis is not only did he start, Walker didn't start, which I thought was a little bit surprising. And when Walker came on, Lewis still played on. So that is quite encouraging for his minutes going forward. I still don't know if it's worth the headache. Like, Man City just cannot keep clean sheets. They don't concede many goals. They just never seem to be able to actually get a clean sheet when I've got Man City defenders in my team. But obviously I did bench Pinnock, who got 7 points, conceded 3 times but scored. But Pinnock's time will come in my team. I'm going to play Pinnock ahead of Trent Alexander-Arnold in game week 9, where Trent has Arsenal away and Pinnock has Ipswich at home. So that'll be fun, benching Trent for Pinnock. Walker has lost his speed advantage. I don't even know if it's that. I think Adama Traore is just super fast. The Lewis one was a dodgy assist. Yeah, it was like one of those. Like, it's one of those classic FPL assists where he basically makes a pass and then Doku does everything else. But still, you take it, right? You're going to get the odd one of those over the season. Sell Trent altogether. I'm not convinced I'm going to sell Trent. Basically, I've got... There's big decisions to be made soon, right? So if you look at my team for next week, it is Raya in goal, Bournemouth away. Gabriel, double Arsenal defence against Bournemouth. And I've got Semenyo on the bench. So Semenyo will probably wipe out the clean sheet. Lewis against Wolves away. Trent against Chelsea at home. In Burmo, Man United away. Saka, Bournemouth away. Rodgers, Fulham away. Fernandez, Brentford at home. Then Haaland, Solanke and Calvert-Lewin up front. Essentially, that Bruno spot is the one I need to give a lot of thought to. I've got 2 free transfers, so I could just roll. And there's every chance I'm just going to roll this week, by the way. Or I could do Fernandez to Brennan Johnson and then something like Lewis to Porro. Although it doesn't feel great selling Lewis because he's got Southampton at home in 9. So I could do that. That would then be my triple up on Spurs. Although watching that game today, I do wonder whether I even need a Spurs defender. But that's possibly something I could do. Bruno to Johnson, Lewis to Porro. Or I could do Fernandez to Palmer and Trent to a 4.4 million defender. So something like 8 Nuri and just play Greaves this week instead. But I don't know if I want to sell Trent. I don't know if I want to go with the structure with Haaland, Saka and Palmer. And also, I don't really want to buy Palmer this week. He's got Liverpool away. So I think it's most likely that I just roll and just hope for the best and get 3 free transfers in game week 9 and just go with that. You can play Pinnock over Bruno as well if you're right. Come on. Don't talk nonsense. Absolute nonsense. No one would play Pinnock over Bruno Fernandes. That's like, it gets to the point where it's just like, it's stupidity on Bruno. I get that no one likes him as an option, but come on. What to do with Diaz? Same team as you, no Pinnock. I'd probably sell him to Brennan Johnson. Most likely. Unless, of course, you want to get Palmer in that spot, in which case you've got to free up money elsewhere. Don't need to sell Lewis until he's dropped. I'll probably keep him for Wolves away and Southampton at home. And then I'll decide. We'll see. I think my main problem is I'm not quite sure which premiums I want long term. Like, do I keep Haaland the whole way through? Like, I'm definitely going to keep him for Wolves away and Southampton at home. But do I keep him longer than that, or do I just free up some money and go and get Salah, Palmer, Saka midfield or something like that? I just don't know. Not fancy Foden, not particularly. I just think after the next two fixtures for City, the fixtures... after the next two matches for Man City, the fixtures get a little bit trickier. Like, Foden only played 72 minutes. When De Bruyne is back, that's another player competing for a central spot. I just don't know if I could be bothered with Foden. I think as soon as he's in the team, I'm going to be thinking about getting rid. And the other thing that I'm thinking about as well, it's not just which premiums do I want, it's when do I want them. Because let's say I sell Bruno to Brennan Johnson, but then I want Palmer in that spot, then I'm just using transfers that I could use to get Palmer instead. If that makes any sense. So it's a tricky situation. I'm just not sure. Why Johnson over Maddison? Just the price. Just a million cheaper. That's it, really. I think Bruno's really... I think Maddison's good, but I just think Johnson's better. Bruno's the reason I'm 2 million. The funny thing is, everybody wanted me to do Trent and Bruno to Palmer and a defender for a hit, and I would have lost about 10 points if I did that. So that's why I ignore the noise and all the nonsense around Bruno. Obviously, it would have been better if I'd done Bruno to Brennan Johnson this week, but I was probably never going to do that. I think that was one for Game Week 9. Solanke's overpriced. Maybe, but let's see after the next few weeks. Spurs fixtures are pretty good. Why not fancy Palmer, Saka and Haaland? Well, I do, but it costs a lot of money, right? And you've got to sell Trent to do it. Bowen is really the main man for West Ham. Always has been, really. Legamani's hop-on, hop-off charts are always helpful with these decisions. Yeah, I'll check it out. I mean, basically, part of me thinks I don't need Palmer until Game Week 12. Like, Game Week 9, when he's got Newcastle at home, Man United away, Arsenal at home, is not terrible, but it doesn't scream must-have, you know? City don't look as dangerous as they have the past few years. Could see Bruno, Haaland, I keep saying Bruno now, Haaland blanking a good few times this season. But Haaland's always going to blank a few times in a season, right? He's not a complete machine where he's going to score every single week. No players are going to do that. I don't think Trent is essential, no. Not at all. Palmer likely hauls against Newcastle, Man United. Depends how Man United play. Man United actually defended quite well today, but they did it at the expense of any attacking threat. The second half was truly awful. Didn't trouble Villa whatsoever. Is Porro a must-hold? He's not a must-hold, but I don't see why you would get rid of him. Doesn't feel worth a transfer to me. I feel like that with a lot of my team, to be honest. Like in Burma, Haaland, Solanke, Calvert-Lewin, Gabriel. No need to sell any of them. Like Calvert-Lewin's obviously a bit frustrating, but the fixtures are so good. I'm just going to leave him in there. I'm not even giving any thought to selling him. Thoughts on Buonanotte? Nice, cheap, long-term pick. For Leicester, he was 5 million to start the season, right? I've not given him any thought for a little while now. Yeah, he's 5 million. I mean, my only worry would be, is he going to play all those games? Like, he missed game weeks... he didn't start in game weeks 3, 4 or 5. I'm not sure if he was injured for 4 because he didn't play any minutes. But off the bench in 3 and 5. Last 2 games, 80 plus. Is that going to continue? I don't know. I don't know if he had an injury or something, but I don't think so. I mean, personally, I would look at Buonanotte at 5 million and think I'd rather have Rodgers for a little bit more, or I'd probably rather have Dibbling for a little bit less. But the fixtures are quite good for Leicester. Moment of silence for Robertson and Konza owners. Yeah, Robertson is just... I'm not going anywhere near him now. Obviously going to miss more games than Trent is. Just not worth it. I think if I go for a cheaper Liverpool defender than Trent, it'll be Konate or even Van Dijk at the same price as Robertson. Managers have had enough of Eze. I completely understand it. The only good thing from Eze is Mateta was benched, and if that keeps happening, which I'm not sure it will, but if it does, Eze would be on penalties a bit more than he would be if Mateta was around. I did see something about possibly Mateta falling out a little bit with Glasner, or they had a bit of a spat. I'm not sure if that's true or not. I'm sure it's one of those things that just won't last too long. We must have, in my opinion, we all must have only 4.5 million defenders. I don't agree with that at all. I mean, all it takes is a couple of Arsenal clean sheets, and that kind of narrative changes again. If Bruno and Man United were to turn a corner, the fixtures upcoming, it's the time. The optimal time to sell was a couple of weeks ago, but then again, we're United. Yeah, look, I'm going to try and avoid talking about Bruno Fernandez too much because I feel like I've been over it a million times. I'm okay with selling him. I just don't think it needs to be done at all costs. Like, again, last week, people wanted me to take a hit for him and Trent to Palmer and a 4.5 million defender. And unless I bought Ain't Nuri and played him, which I wouldn't have, I'd be down about 10 points. So now the question is, do I do that same move for free and get Palmer before Liverpool away? Probably not. So do I want to do Fernandez to someone like Brennan Johnson? And Brennan Johnson might be a little bit better over the next few weeks, but he's not so good that I think Fernandez has to be sold, basically. Like, if it's a choice between Brennan Johnson and Brennan Johnson and 2 transfers in 9, or Fernandez this week and 3 transfers in 9, I'm going to take the 3 transfers. So it'll more come down to whether I really want to get Porro in this week. And after watching that Brighton game, I'm not so sure now, even though I think West Ham at home is an easier fixture. Yeah. I don't know how Raptor gets so much abuse when you are being stubborn and keeping Bruno for 7 weeks. This is literally mad. Do you not think it would be very weird if I got abused for keeping a player in my fantasy football team? I think you're the one that's a little bit strange, if I'm honest. Do you reckon you'll bank 5? No, definitely not. I think getting to 3 free transfers for 9 could be good, but like Palmer is going to be someone I'll massively consider then. If you had to sell one, which order? McNeil, Semenyo, Rodgers. Semenyo, just because of fixtures. Is Havertz injured? I highly doubt it. I suspect that's an international break injury, if anything. Is Havertz to Solanke a must? No. I think Bournemouth away is an okay fixture. I think I'd rather have Solanke over the next 3-4 weeks, but he's not must-have or anything like that. Also, it's all well and good me sitting here saying I'm going to roll the transfer, hope to get to 3 free transfers. There could just be a bunch of issues that come up over the break. And then I'll have to rethink. And who knows, maybe Ten Hag will be gone. Probably not. You never know. I'm wanting to keep Diaz as I've only got 1 free transfer. Should I hold? I think he'll probably start against Chelsea. So I think it's okay to hold him if you don't want to sell him. I think Diaz, if you had more than 1 transfer, Diaz is probably a bit more interesting to sell. Forest are a much better team than Everton, not considering Calvert-Lewin to Wood. No, Calvert-Lewin's playing Ipswich away. He's also got Southampton very soon, Fulham at home. Doesn't feel worthwhile using a transfer. If not Trent, who would you sell for Palmer? In my team, Saka. It would have to be Saka or Haaland. There's no other real way to get the money. Bench 1, Trent, Aina, Diaz. Diaz. Probably Aina, to be honest with you. Do I think Timber will be ready for next week? Honestly, don't know. Really not that sure. We'll have to wait and see. And hope that Mikel Arteta gives us good advice, but probably won't. Gone from 3.8 million to 130k in 3 weeks with Haaland, but next 2 games scare me without him. Oh, so you've not had Haaland. Yeah, but I think Fulham at home probably scared non-Haaland owners, and look what happened. So nearly got Kovacic this week. Did you really nearly get Kovacic? Think it's worth doing now? Probably not, I would say. He has scored quite a few points, though, to be fair. Is Smith Rowe a must sell? I think, and I've seen a lot of other people saying this as well, that it's quite likely Smith Rowe was just benched because it was Man City and they wanted to set up in a different way. I think Smith Rowe will still be quite important going forward. And so I think he's far from a must sell. I actually think that Fulham's fixtures are quite good now. And if you've come this far, you should probably just keep hold of him. How long will you keep Bruno? Honestly, thinking of bringing him in for the green fixtures. I'm not sure I would recommend bringing him in. He's such a headache. I think if you bring him in for Brentford and he blanks, you're straight away going to be thinking, have I made a mistake here? Like, Man United are just not playing well enough at the moment. As for me, I will sell him when I think there's a better transfer to be made. And as I've already discussed, it's all about whether or not I want to get to 2 premium midfielders or not. basically, the long and the short is I think Fernandez against Brentford at home is perfectly fine, and I'm not really panicking about it all that much. And like Diaz, again, a player that everyone wanted on Wildcard 6 instead of Fernandez. You know, he's blanked and then he's been benched. So it's not like that would have gone massively better. So I'm kind of just okay with it, to be honest. The other thing is, if I don't want to sell Trent anytime soon, the other thing I've considered is actually keeping Bruno for another 5 weeks and then selling Trent after Southampton in game week 12, I think it is, and then funding a move for Palmer. But by that point, I just wonder if it might be... Not that it's too late to get on Palmer there, but he might do well in these more tricky fixtures he's got, because he's just great. And also his price is going to continue going up if he does well. I'm just not sure if I should put it off that long. Who should I sell Trent for to free up money for Solanke? It depends how much money you need to free up, but Porro would be quite high on my list, I think. If you still had Salah, best time to move to Palmer? Yeah, probably game week 9. For Arsenal away, I would say. The thing is, Salah's fixtures in 10, 11 and 12 are quite good. But Palmer's also got Leicester away in 12 as well, and he doesn't play Arsenal away. But then he plays Arsenal at home. I think it's quite a tight one. I think it probably comes down to how much you need the money. If you need the money soon, I would just do it in 9. Gone up 2.7 million, sold Haaland, Salah for Fekonja and Bowen. Wow. What moves. How did you do on your Sleeper League? I didn't get very many predictions this week. Loads of people got 8 predictions right on Sleeper, so I'll do a draw on the game week 8 deadline, basically. My draft game went down to the wire as well, and I've lost it annoyingly. So I think in the draft league, the Content Creators Draft League, I'm pretty sure I've got the second highest score out of everyone this week, and I've lost to the person that got the highest score. How brutal is head to head? Yeah, Bruno for 5 more weeks is not a guarantee, but it's possible. Like the Man United fixtures are not bad. I think the other thing for me is once you don't have, so once you not forget about them, but once you don't have the money for like Son, Palmer, or Saka or Salah in that spot, like when you go to Bruno Fernandez price and lower, there's not a massive amount of options that I think are like outstanding where they're so obvious to go for. Brennan Johnson is probably one right now, and again, I think he's fine if you want to bring him in, and I might even do that this week. But outside of him, like who else is there? Like Jared Bowen just done really well against Ipswich, but that was Ipswich at home. The fixtures get a little bit tougher now. Is that worth Fernandez to Bowen? I don't know. Probably not. Maddison and Johnson, fine, they're good. Eze, probably not. Martinelli and Trossard both just got benched. Mitoma's good, but I think the fixtures with Liverpool and Man City in the next 4, I don't really want to buy a Brighton attacker. Jota, Diaz, not interested. Chelsea at home, Arsenal away, they could get benched at any point, as we've seen. Kovacic, no, definitely not going to do that. Eze has not been any better, really, than Fernandez, although he's cheaper. Foden, yes, but he's more expensive, so I'd have to free up money from somewhere else. I'd have to make a downgrade. Like genuinely, I think the kind of 6 million to... I mean, you could say Foden, but the 6 million all the way up until... like Palmer's price, Saka and Palmer's price, there's not a huge amount of good options. And then you're going all the way down to like Smith Rowe, McNeil. But I'm not going to sell Fernandez to one of those unless I need the money for something. So I think when you actually drill down, there's not a Spurs player, maybe. And I might do that. Only Bowen, 90-minute player with better teammates than Bruno. Again, like that is a massive knee-jerk opinion. Nobody was talking about Bowen until he did well against Ipswich. Absolutely no one. And well, maybe some people were, but not many, right? And before that game, he had like 1 goal, 2 assists. Not many people were thinking about bringing him in. He's got Spurs away, Man United at home, Forest away next 3. Newcastle away in 12, Arsenal at home in 13. I'm not having that. I'm not having that, like, Bowen. Like, also, West Ham have been terrible for the most part. I'm not sure about this better teammates. I mean, they probably do have a better 11, but that is massively knee-jerk. Martinelli got rested, not benched. Either way, he didn't play. Doesn't matter what you miss a game for. It's not ideal, right? So I just think, again, I've talked about Bruno Fernandez way more in this stream than I wanted to, but this is why you just have to ignore all the noise, because people are so fixated on the fact that he has to be sold at all costs. When you start thinking about possible replacements, there really aren't many standout, these are amazing players, they're guaranteed to do better, apart from maybe Spurs midfielders. That's about it, in my opinion. Like, Bowen could do better. Will he? Who knows? Who knows? Right, that's it for Bruno Fernandez now. I'm not going to get drawn into any more Bruno chat because it's absolutely boring. Okay, De Bruyne injured, so no point worrying about that. Yeah, I'm just going to have to start muting people that just, they're not listening. We did discuss Bowen last week. You always say him instead of Kudus. I was so close to going with him. Yeah, of course, right? But that was last week before he's about to play Ipswich at home. Now you've lost that fixture. That's the problem with Bowen, right? So he was a good option going into last week because he had Ipswich at home. Now, to be fair, Spurs away, Man United at home next two. They're not terrible, but they're not Ipswich at home. And then he's got Forest away, who are pretty good defensively. So now it feels like the wrong time to be buying him. Play Barnes or Rodgers this week. I would probably play Rodgers, especially if like Isak's back or Wilson's available. It needs to be Antonio in for Haaland. Absolutely, you should go and do that. I would even take a hit to do Haaland to Antonio. Is it really worth going to any Liverpool midfielders or forwards? I'm going to ignore them. I said that a few weeks ago and it looked really stupid because Luis Diaz went and got like another 16-pointer or something, but I'm just going to stick to the ignore them. I just think I just don't want to deal with the early subs and the constant threat of rotation. Like, over the next 6 to 8 game weeks, Diaz and Jota will start the majority, but there will be the odd one they miss, and they will keep getting subbed early for the most part. I just don't want a piece of that. I don't think they're so good that you should risk that. Like, some of the fixtures they've got coming up are pretty good, but not for me. Your team again is banking on Haaland scoring a hat-trick. I mean, I've got a green arrow and he blanked, so I don't think that's necessarily good. Ignoring them hasn't worked. Having them hasn't worked either. Yeah, if you've got Liverpool midfielders, you might have a different opinion, but to buy one now, not for me. I'm just going to ignore them. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Like I always say, like I'm not going to get everything right. Some stuff's going to go wrong. Sometimes players will blank, etc. Do I miss Douglas Luiz? Not at all. What striker would I sell Jackson for? Probably Solanke. But if you want to go cheaper, Chris Wood, Calvert-Lewin, both good as well. Jota's still a good pick given how out of favour Darwin is. Is Darwin that out of favour though? I mean, he hasn't played any minutes in the last two, I guess. He did play well against Bournemouth though in game week 5. But this is the thing, right? A couple of weeks ago, Diaz was the one, and everyone was selling Jota. And now Jota's the one, right? So we start off in game week 1 and 2, Jota's the one. Then Diaz does really well, it's him. And now we're back to Jota being the one. Like, in a few weeks, we could be back to Diaz. I just don't want that headache. And as has been pointed out, sometimes ignoring these plays doesn't work because they absolutely smash it. But I just don't want it. I just don't like those kind of players. I find it really frustrating when you don't know if they're going to play everywhere. I don't want to have to be on the lookout for team sheets all the time. I understand I got Rico Lewis, but one, his minutes look quite good at the moment. Also, he's just a 4.7 million defender. It's less than my budget spent. Best Diaz replacement, Johnson obvious, but Gordon, striker and penalties. Isak and Wilson could be back after the international break. Who knows if Gordon would even take the next penalty? It could be Fabian Schär. I wouldn't be going to Gordon now. I think the time to buy was probably last week. Because after Brighton at home, it's Chelsea away, Arsenal at home. It's not great. I have Robertson and Eze, a must sell both. I think you could keep Eze. I think Robertson's a bit frustrating now because he's missed a couple. Chelsea at home, Arsenal away is not looking good for clean sheets. I wouldn't say either a must sell, but I'd probably sell Robertson before Eze, I think. Guys, again, I'm not going to talk about Bruno anymore. I get it. You want me to sell him. I'm probably not going to do it. Just get over it, honestly. Is it too late to get on the Lewis train? I'm personally, the more weeks that go by, the worse I think of a transfer in he is. I'm not sure. Not sure I would do it. Gordon tweeted that he'll never shy away from taking responsibility. He would take the next pen, unless Isak's around, which he could be. Buy Eze when the fixtures become good again. He will be cheap. I'll definitely consider it. I wouldn't be massively put off buying Eze, but I'm certainly not going to rush into doing it. Am I tempted by Maddison over Johnson? Is it a mad call? It's not a mad call. I think Maddison's great. But I would probably go Johnson for the money. Have same team as yours except Pinnock to Aina and Bruno to Diaz. 2 free transfers. Will you sell Diaz or roll? If I had Diaz instead of Bruno, I'd be more interested in selling because the minutes aren't necessarily there. So if I had this team but Diaz instead of Bruno, I'd probably be selling to a Spurs midfielder. I might do that anyway, but if I had Diaz, I'd be more likely to do it. And again, yeah, I like Johnson because of the money, for sure. Would you nothing to do this week. Would you transfer Mikalenko to Lewis or roll? Probably roll if you got 3 other good defenders. Is it a good time for a wild card? It might be if your team needs it. I think 8, and then the next good time is probably going to be 12. Should we sell Haaland if we have Saka / Palmer? I mean, Haaland's got Wolves away and Southampton at home next to. If you had unlimited budget for any goalkeeper, who would you pick? Raya. Didn't say Eze was unlucky in this stream at all. Smith Rowe price drop tonight. Who should I bring in if I sell? Well, how much money have you got to spend? Would you sell Eze for a Spurs midfielder? I would massively consider that, yeah. Honestly, I think Eze's like Bruno in that they're never... Because you... This is the thing with players like this. Because you know they're always going to start and the minutes are always going to be good, you're never going to look at them and think, I've got to get rid of them. But if you're frustrated with Eze and you want to get rid, I don't see any issue with that. I think the fixtures get good again. Like, Forest away is not ideal. From game week 9 onwards, though, the fixtures are not bad. Spurs at home, Wolves away, Fulham at home, Villa away, Newcastle at home, Ipswich away. You could keep him. But I get it. I think it's the same. Like I said, Eze, similar to Bruno. Very frustrating if you own them. If you want to sell them. Like, if someone says to me, I'm doing Eze to Johnson, I wouldn't argue at all. Alex Moreno at 8 Nuri for 4.4. Well, I think Nottingham Forest better defence, for sure. I don't think anyone would argue that. Moreno, there's probably a little bit more competition maybe for Forest because I guess at some point Aina and Nico Williams could play and Moreno could get benched. But I think he's clearly first choice left back at the moment. And the next 3 fixtures are pretty good. Palace at home, Leicester away, West Ham at home. The main problem with 8 Nuri is the next 2 fixtures, but from 10 onwards, they're better than what Forest have got. Lenkovic is the better pick. But I think people are looking at Moreno because he's only 4.4, same as 8 Nuri. David De Gea just saved a penalty. I don't believe it. Trent to 8 Nuri. I don't see a massive point in doing that this week unless you need the money, really. Is Son going to come back in next game week? He absolutely could, yeah. Do you enjoy international breaks because it must feel like a holiday? Boom, exactly. It's like a holiday, basically, for me. Sort of. I mean, I'm still going to do videos over the next few days, but there's a little bit of a holiday. We're sleeping on Chris Wood. Yeah, I mean, no one said that last week when he blanked, and all of a sudden now we're sleeping on him. But in general, I think Chris Wood's a really good option. Like on Wildcard 6, it was close between Calvert-Lewin and Chris Wood. I went for the guy that was a little bit cheaper. At some point, I might buy Chris Wood. Who knows? Maybe I'll do Haaland to Chris Wood and Semenyo to Salah, and then, I don't know, Fernandez to Palmer. That could be quite nice. Or it could be terrible because I've sold Haaland. Do you know what the problem with Haaland is now? Is over the last couple of weeks, people have done really well without him. And so it makes you think, I could just get away with not having him as well. But you also just know that the time you sell him will be the time when he starts absolutely banging again. And then you'll feel like an idiot. It's so hard to actually sell Haaland. I think once you sell Haaland and you get through one game week where he blanks, it probably feels so much easier. Even if he does haul again after that, like, it doesn't feel so bad because you got through the first week and overall your squad's going to be better. But selling him now, before Wolves away and Southampton at home, there's no chance I'll sell him. Game week 10, game week 11, 12, I'll think about it. I'll think about it. Matt Sarawi next game, he got benched today at 45 minutes. I wonder if he was injured, to be honest. I don't know if Ten Hag said anything after the game. Yeah, I'm not sure if he said anything after the game, but he played really well, I thought, in the first half. I thought it was odd to bench it. To sub him off. Not really sure what Lindelof offered instead. But what do I know? How do you stay so level-headed / logical? I mean, I've played this game for a long time, and first of all, there's always lots of ups and downs. Just because things go badly doesn't mean they're going to continue to go badly. I've had lots of experience of just ignoring all the noise because, and this applies to anyone, by the way, that puts their team out there. Maybe if you've got like a Twitter account and you tweet about it. No one, I think Late Riser once said this on FPL Wire, nobody, and I mean nobody, will think about your team as much as you. And so they won't think about how many transfers you got, what the future plan is to get a certain player in, what the value of certain players are, etc. Like all the small things that go into whether you should make a transfer. They just won't think about it. Like I said, they'll just look at your team. In my case, it's Bruno, and say that player has to go at all costs without thinking about the wider picture. And so there's just not really any point listening to it. You can take in opinions, but for the most part, it's only your opinion for your team that matters. And so, and plus, it's only game week 7. We got so many more weeks to go. I know people are celebrating like the season's over already, and anyone like 2 million or below is just terrible, but it's just not the case yet. And at the end of the day, if I'm sat here in game week 38 and I'm still 2 million, okay, that sucks. But do you know what? I just play again next year and carry on. Like, what more can you do? Like, you've got no control over players once they start playing. And by the way, I'm not like perfect. I'm not always this cool. Like when I'm watching games and like during the weekend, sometimes it is really frustrating. But once you step back, like it's not who really cares, but like what can you really do? You know. And if you're happy with your team, that's what. Like I look at this team for next week, I think it looks fine. So I'm not going to lose too much sleep over the fact I'm 2 million. Just got to hope that the team does better next few weeks, and hopefully it does. And if it doesn't, I'll just make some transfers and carry on as it is. Try not to take any hits as normal. Give us a United rant. Nah, it's not really me, to be honest. Ten Hag in or out. I think his time to go was probably last season. So, but if you look at where they are right now, the current points they're on, they'll be looking to get about 43 to 44 by the end of the season. So bad. So bad. Again, it is early on in the season, but I just don't see any way it's going to get better. No Pinnock, no Bruno. Got fast, same team as you. Diaz to Palmer and Harwood via Trent will take a hit and go for Pinnock or Diaz to Johnson. Again, you need to decide how much you want Palmer. I've already kind of talked through that quite a lot in this stream. I can't decide that for you, right? If you really want Palmer, then that's the route you need to take. If you're happy enough going against him, then you go the other way, right? It's not something I can answer, and I can't answer it because I don't know yet for my own team. I'm really not sure. I'm on it all weekend. I'm checking the games, checking the app. My wife could be giving birth, and I check FPL. Yeah, again, I really want. I'm the same. I'm watching matches. I'm looking at FPL. I'm checking my points and stuff like that. And I am getting frustrated at times. But I think when you just sit back, like, what can I do about it? Last week, our wildcard, I got 33 points. I got the best defence in the league in for Leicester at home, Southampton at home. So I got 2 of them, and they've conceded in both games. What can I do about that? It's not like it was a bad decision, you know? What camera do I use? I'm currently using a Sony, I think it's like the 6400 or something like that. I used to have the 5100, I believe, this thing, but it broke. And I needed another one quick. I couldn't wait for it to get repaired, so I got like a 6400. Are bonus points locked in? Who knows with FPL? Who knows? Presumably, yes. I think an hour after the last game is when they can change them, right? So presumably it's all good. It's funny how managing an FPL team is uncannily, am I saying that right? Uncannily. I don't think I am. It sounds wrong when I say it. Similar to managing your financial portfolio. I mean, I wouldn't know anything about that, to be honest with you. I feel like I should be better with money and like investing and stuff. I just don't. What would you do if YouTube was no longer a thing? Get a job, I guess. Do I regret? I always love these questions. Do I regret going for Calvert-Lewin over Wood? In other words, do I regret going for the player with less points than the player with more points? No. Again, as always, I love getting very few points. The less points, the better. Is Antonio an option for again after all these years? I don't think so. He was great against Ipswich, though. He should have been man of the match. I think they gave it to Bowen. I think Antonio should have been man of the match. He caused that Ipswich defence so many problems. He absolutely bullied them at times. So good. But no, I don't think he's an option. I actually don't know his price. He is 5.4. Always gets subbed early, though, doesn't he? I love Antonio, though. Any excuse to bring out the 4 goals. Like Palmer, 4 goals. Yeah, Antonio's done that as well. Thoughts on double Liverpool defence? Not something I would be going near right now, but not against it in the future. Yeah, Jimenez not bad, especially now the Man City game's out of the way. Did you see the Jimenez assist, by the way? So good. For a serious answer, by the way, on the Calvert-Lewin, Chris Wood thing, I actually don't regret it that much. Because Calvert-Lewin was a bit cheaper for me. I think it was about 0.2 million. And bearing in mind I've got no money in the bank, like, money was tight. And the fixtures are still quite good. In my opinion, Calvert-Lewin should have had a penalty. I know some people disagree. I think it's okay. Calvert-Lewin's getting more minutes as well. So yeah, I mean, obviously, if I could go back in time, I'd always take the route that gets me more points. But maybe over the next few weeks, maybe that will be Calvert-Lewin. Like, it's Ipswich away, Fulham at home, Southampton away, next 3. That's quite nice. I'm not going to be selling him. The lap looks interesting. Agreed. I think he's looked pretty good. Although he didn't get a huge amount of chances against West Ham. He just took his chance well. Areola probably should have done better. What work did I do before YouTube? Community management on the forums at EA, which we actually spoke about on the deadline stream a little bit. How long is Mikalenko out for? I think he'll be back after the international break, but we'll have to wait and see what Sean Dyche says. When do I think it will update the points? Really want to know my overall rank. You can click the link at the top of the chat, which will tell you your live rank on Hub. Otherwise, I don't know. Some point tonight, I guess. Why do people make transfers now? Isn't it early with international break? Yeah, because people are just very trigger happy and they want to make their transfers ASAP. But if possible, you should wait. Sometimes people have very... like they don't have enough money to wait, basically. Like, price changes might price them out of a move, in which case they might go early. But obviously it's a bit risky over an international break. Everyone used to get hacked on the old FIFAs. Yes, I do remember it. I've actually spoken to footballers because of that as well before. I helped David De Gea get... well, no, actually, that wasn't with a hacked foot team. I helped David De Gea with an issue he had on FIFA once. Not directly, though. I had to get someone that spoke Spanish to do it. Sean Dyche playing complete sufferball is paying for us. Yeah, it wasn't fun watching Calvert-Lewin. But the next 3 fixtures are pretty good. My voice is going. Don't know why that is. 15 points on the bench. For me, is it, or for you? Must be for you, right? Should Gabriel to 8 Nuri, then Semenyo? Should I do Gabriel to 8 Nuri, then Semenyo to Maddison? I wouldn't probably be selling Gabriel. I don't think it's terrible to do that, but I wouldn't probably do it myself. You mentioned Sean Dyche and channeled his voice immediately. Absolutely. Do you think Gundogan is a good pick? No. And now, I haven't watched all Man City games in full that Gundogan has played, but it doesn't sound like he's played amazing. So he's not nailed, I don't think. Captain Saka this week, very nice. I had Minter on the bench all because he only played 20 minutes last game. Minter was actually pretty good, especially in the second half. Like, it's so cliche, right? But the Spurs-Brighton game really was a game of two halves. Like, Spurs were brilliant in the first half. Brighton were amazing in the second half. And neither had a huge amount of chances in the other half. Although, Danny Welbeck should have scored in the first half, so that's actually not completely true. Have 2 free transfers. What do you think on Adam Armstrong and Semenyo to Brennan Johnson? Wait, who's AA? Oh, Alexander Arnold. And Semenyo to Brennan Johnson and Vardio / Rico. Yeah, I like it. I'd probably go Vardio. Yeah, I like it. Game week 12, wildcard looks very tempting. Nice fixture swings and good opportunity to get rid of Haaland for difficult fixtures. Yeah, I wouldn't say the fixtures are really tough in 12. But he's got Spurs at home, Liverpool away. The thing is, from 14 onwards, like Forest at home, Palace away, Man United at home, Villa away, they're not that bad. And you definitely want Haaland from 18 onwards. Like in 18, it's Everton at home, Leicester away, West Ham at home, Brentford away, Ipswich away. So, like Spurs at home, is that tough? And then Liverpool away in 13, okay, that's tough enough. But outside of that, not a massive amount of super tough games for Haaland. Maybe tougher than what he's had, I guess. Would you triple captain Haaland versus Wolves? I'd probably rather triple captain him against Southampton. Is my overall rank displayed correctly? It should be, yeah, about 2 odd million. Absolute nosebleed territory, almost into the top 2 million. Matsurawi or Lewis next game. Matsurawi clean sheet potential, but Rico gets forward. Who is more nailed? I don't know after the halftime sub today for Matsurawi. I mean, you could argue that Matsurawi is a little bit better this week. That's probably who I would lean towards than Lewis in 9. Did Bruno blank? Yes. And I got absolutely punished by playing Bruno Fernandez because of the unbenchable Morgan Rogers. Is Robertson a rotation risk now? It looks like it for sure. I don't think he's going to get rotated massively, but it's obviously going to happen a little bit. Am I going to stick to 2 Man City assets or am I tempted by a third? I'm more tempted to go to 1 than 3, I think. Ahmad to Rogers. Rogers is great, yeah. Do you think the bonus system needs a change? For example, Hermansen making 13 saves versus Arsenal and only getting 19 bonus makes 0 sense. I don't have strong opinions about the bonus system. What I'll always say, though, is we shouldn't change it because of things like that. Like, unless that's something that keeps happening, I don't know if it needs changing. Like, a one-off event should not make us change the bonus system, you know? Shubdam, thank you. Has Rogers gone up in price? He has since the season started. I don't know when he last went up in price. He's now 5.3. I think Lewis is getting bench game week 8. Wolves have tricky attack. Maybe, but Fulham literally had Adama Traore and he still started. Like I don't know if the Wolves attack is like that much trickier than the Fulham attack, you know? I'm not likely to go to 1 Man City. I just think I'm more likely to have 1 than 3. Like Foden would require 2 free transfers. And again, I'm not against it. If we get after the international break and Pep says that De Bruyne is going to be out for a few more weeks, I might be tempted in Foden, but I know he's not someone I want long term. And I said this on the deadline stream, because we have the ability to roll up to 5 free transfers, it does make you question, or at least for me, right, it makes me question each move a little bit more. So if this was last season, where you can only have a maximum of 2 transfers, I would almost certainly spend, well, I've got 2, right? So I would definitely spend them this week, or at least 1. So I would probably do Fernandez to Johnson, or I would do Trent to Porro and Fernandez to Foden, right? And I would use my transfers because I wouldn't be able to save any more. But because I can save more, I feel like I've got to think longer term. So that I would like Foden for 8 and 9, but I don't necessarily need him after that. So is he worth using extra transfers just to have him for 2 fixtures? He might be. He absolutely might be, but I don't think it's a guarantee. And so the free transfers thing is making me play even more boring than I would in previous seasons. Or at least it's making me think a bit more. So if Foden's going to start the next 2, he's brilliant. But I don't know if I want to use the extra transfers. Do you like Havertz and João Pedro to Chris Wood and Solanke to bench Semenyo for free? Definitely don't mind it. I think Wood and Solanke are just good longer term options. Will City ever get a clean sheet again? Told myself I couldn't put myself through having Edison again, but here we are. Hopefully, for Rico Lewis's sake, hopefully they get one at some point. And what did Foden score this week? I mean, he blanked, but so did Haaland. Does that mean we have to get rid of Haaland and he's no good going forward? Thoughts on Rashford for Smith Rowe as he's dropping? Well, do you want to sell Smith Rowe or are you only selling him because he's dropping in price? Because if you're only selling him because of the drop, I'm not sure it's worth it. Man City might be the worst value FPL team in the league. I don't think that's true at all. They've got some really potentially great value players. Doesn't always work out though. Like if I told you that Lewis was going to start the next 2, that's a pretty good value player, right? Foden I'm less sure about with the value, to be honest, because I know he's dropped in price a bit, but he's 9.2. And so I guess if you're going to Palmer, it is like 1.5 million more. But Foden's just in a bit of an awkward spot, I think, for price. I know he did so well last year, but if he was still 9.5, I probably wouldn't be that interested. I would be considering holding Smith Rowe. I don't think there's a massive need to get rid of him. Brentford's fixtures look great on Wildcard 6. Flecken is yet to keep a clean sheet. I mean, yeah, but so is Raya, and like, Flecken is $1 million cheaper. So it ain't that bad. I think Smith Rowe was probably mostly benched because it was Man City. Is Savio a sell? He could come back in next week. He might not. You're always going to have this issue. I'd much rather have someone like Brennan Johnson, who you know is going to start. Like long term, is Brennan Johnson forever going to start? Maybe not. But right now, it looks pretty good, especially with Odegaard out. And obviously, once Son's back, it will just be Werner that misses out. I just realised an hour later, I'm still listening to Phoenix. I need to change that. What would a Game Week 8 wildcard draft look like? Well, you can wait until tomorrow and I will talk you through one. Everton fixtures are looking good. Semenyo to McNeil. Don't mind it if you're having to play Semenyo every week. But if you can bench him for someone like Rodgers, there's probably not a massive need to sell him. Why do you always listen to Phoenix? Because it's the song that I use at the start of the streams, and then when I start yapping nonsense, I listen to music, but I forget to change it. Because you're answering questions and talking, you just really zone out what music you're listening to. But I find it because I've done streams so long with music, I find it very weird to do it without. So when I've not got headphones in, I can just hear so much more. So I like the music to dampen my own voice. Because let's be honest, I just talk rubbish. I don't want to have to listen to it. I don't know why you guys listen to it, to be honest. Son and Foden / De Bruyne for Palmer and Semenyo. I mean, I'd much rather have Son and Foden, I guess, for the next few weeks. But you're going to want Palmer back eventually, so I'm not sure I would get rid of him. What would you do different if wildcard? Again, I'll talk through that tomorrow in a video. I'd probably want to get Palmer in though at some point. For Spurs mid, yeah, I've talked about Spurs midfield quite a lot. All right, I'm going to see if there's any questions we've not already gone through tons of times. Vardy is a cheap option. I'd rather go Delap, I think. I'd even prefer someone like Calvert-Lewin. Is Justin overlooked? He's done really well recently, but I wouldn't be looking to buy a lesser defender necessarily. Thoughts on Kelleher as an option? Yeah, Alisson's done his hamstring. Hang on a sec. Oh, my throat's getting a bit sore. Probably going to have to shut the stream off soon. Alisson apparently done his hamstring. Could be out until after the next international break. So only might miss 4 weeks. And the fixtures aren't amazing in that time. So I'm not sure a goalkeeper transfer is necessarily worth it. Sorry, but I love the content. You don't have to be sorry about that. You might be the only person, but... Do you plan on bringing in Madueke? No, not at all. Do you remember when he scored a hat-trick and everyone panic bought him? And I don't think he's returned since. Oh, no, he did score today. I take it back. I had him in draft as well. And he got an assist last week. He's actually done all right, hasn't he? 5 returns. He's got way more returns than Bruno Fernandez. But no interest. All right, any non-FPL questions? And then I'm going to shoot off because my voice is starting to go and I'm not sure how much longer I can keep talking for. Bench Trent against Chelsea. If you've got someone better, but for most people, you're probably just going to play him, I would say. Thoughts on Wolves assets from Gameweek 9? Ain't Nuri, Cunha, both pretty good. You'll be missed over the international break. There'll be a few videos, but just enjoy the break, right? Like, FPL can be pure pain and misery at times. Enjoy the week that you don't have that. If you're sat there with Palmer and Co in your team and you've just got a massive green arrow, you're probably a bit happier. Thank you for your words of wisdom. I don't think there's been any wisdom, to be honest. What's my plan for tomorrow? I'm actually going to be drinking some beer, which I haven't done for a long time. What do you do to chill out away from FPL? I really need to find some more stuff. It's not even just FPL necessarily. Just like I need to just do more in general. But I know I need to do that. I just don't do it anyway. Like, I don't know if everyone else does. I know I need to go and do more stuff. I just don't do it. Like, I like going to the gym and walking during the week, but I need to do more than that, you know? For someone in their 40s, you do love using Gen Z lingo like yapping, cooking. Yeah, I couldn't say that out loud, though. I like, if I said, oh, he was cooking, I don't think I can say it. I might write it, but I don't think I could say it. Yapping. Is that Gen Z? Bit of a yapper? I guess it is, a little bit. How many hours would I say I work a week? I don't really know, because I guess anything to do with FPL is work, and so it doesn't really feel like you're working, but I guess you are, and I just wouldn't count it. A cooking stream? I don't think so. Do you find yourself doom scrolling? Yes. Yes. Absolutely pointless, isn't it? But we all do it. It's so bad how easy it is to do. Okay, there's some stuff being asked I'm definitely not going to talk about. By the way, I just realised, by the way, what do you mean for someone in your 40s? I'll tell you now, if I swore on these streams, I'd be swearing at you right now. Have I played Sunday League before? Not since I was like 15. Do you make money from YouTube? This is my job, so yep. What about ignoring Erling Haaland for captaincy in game weeks, the next few game weeks? I just think the next two are tricky to do it. Like Saka's Bournemouth away, Salah's Chelsea at home, Palmer's Liverpool away. I think this week and next are just very good for Haaland. Do I edit my own videos? Not my shorts, no. You've deleted every social media app and it's changed your life. I know I should really do that, honestly. But the problem is I kind of need them for work. And I've thought about getting rid of them off my phone, but then I've got to use my computer every time I want to tweet something. It's just so handy to do it on your phone, but I know that keeps me on them. Can you get your foot over your head? I highly doubt it. What brought me to Ireland? Work. He makes 40k a stream. It's actually 50k. When's the next car stream? Whenever the internet goes down and there's a deadline stream to do, I guess. So hopefully not for a very long time. Because I like the car stream, but it's much easier to do it from the office. I don't think Saka's terrible for captaincy this week, but I think Haaland is better. I notice how long the sections of your videos can be. Do you do them in one take? Yeah, well, so they're one take in terms of if I talk for 5 minutes about Cole Palmer on a video, it's all done in one take, but it doesn't mean it's done on the first take, if that makes sense. I watch Haaland live every national break. He is so big, more big in real life. Good to know. Andy drives a Lamborghini and lives in a mansion. Absolutely. Absolutely. Do I think Trossard starts game week 7? No, definitely not in game week 7. Game week 8? We'll have to see. It doesn't take that long to record and upload, but it depends on the video. Like, I'll probably do tomorrow's... I've already set up tomorrow's video, so to actually record it might be an hour and a half, maybe. was so happy when Saka outscored Palmer. Me too. I wish I'd captained Saka though. Can you do a stream while drunk? No, not again. I did one once, never again. I was much smaller in terms of subscribers back then, and never again. Because that would be, if I did that now, it'd be all over the internet straight away. That's got to be sarcasm. Which team do you support? You are so unbiased, it's hard to tell. I spent all week getting told that I'm really biased. But Man United, basically. The channel's on course for 450,000 subs by the end of the season. I think that'll be tricky, but it's possible. Did De Gea really save another penalty? Man United win the Premier League or England win the World Cup? I'll take England winning the World Cup, please. And yes, I know people on the internet are going to tell me that makes me not a real fan. That's fine. I'm still going to sleep good tonight. What are your member streams like? Do you speak about non-FPL things? To be honest, I try and keep it FPL only. So they're usually like 30, 40 to 45 minutes. Last football match I attended was probably Galway United, and I've not been there for a while. Actually, no, well, apart from my son's games, I guess. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it there. Thanks very much for listening to me yapping. If you enjoyed that, make sure to give it a like and hit that subscribe button. Have I studied journalism? Nope. Member streams are usually 5 PM on a Thursday. Usually. Sometimes 5:30 if I forget. But yeah, make sure to give the stream a like, hit that subscribe button, rate 5 stars if you're listening on podcast. I will have a couple more videos this week, and then it'll be a break until next week. It's obviously the international break. So thank you very much for joining me. Hope your weekend went well. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I will catch you again tomorrow. I'll see you then.